B1 family, welcome to Blacklogic. So this evening, we're going to find out who are the lesser of the two evil and the best presidential candidate for foundational Black Americans. That is what we're going to cover here today, which I think is very, very important. There's two clear choices. You have the nominee with Donald Trump for the Republican Party. You have the nominee for the Democratic Party with Joe Biden. But I guess the biggest questions for Black Americans is who is going to be the president for us? Who are going to actually provide tangibles for us? That's the questions that we're asking, because first off, let's talk about the different sections of Biden's address. He touched on a variety of topics, including healthcare, education, and criminal justice reform. He was talking about jobs and all the jobs that was created. One of the key points that stood out to me was his emphasis on investing in HBCUs, which has been a very controversial topic, that some people believe that Donald Trump contributed more to HBCUs, and some believe that Joe Biden. So we're going to do a little bit of fact checking here as well, okay? Because a lot of times, because as a foundational Black American who is not going to be a part of the circus of the whole voting thing, if they're not providing tangibles, then they don't have my vote. Simple as that. It doesn't matter what party. But there are Black Americans with special interests. There are Black Americans with particular issues that may vote for one candidate or another. So what benefits us? So the thing about having Blacklogic and speaking the truth is sometimes I have to give you content that I don't even agree with. I have to give you the truth, the information that I don't even agree with or even want to know the truth. That's hard, believe it or not, because some people are very biased in the information they give. They give it from a very diluted and distorted perspective. So it's important to have someone that's kind of neutral, like myself. I'm pretty neutral, but nonetheless, I tend to lean one way or another. But he touched about all these different areas and how it affects America and what he's going to do for Americans. But HBCUs popped out. Biden also mentioned specific initiative that would directly affect the Black Americans, that would directly affect foundational Black Americans, such as expanding access to affordable housing and creating economic opportunities in low income or underserved or minority communities. And you know, that's a trick language, family, where they mean that everybody except Black folk. Because here's the thing, the reason why we speak the way we do, because history tells us that anytime we're voting for all of these different issues, that direct support never comes to our neighborhoods. That direct support never comes to our communities. They never come to our communities at all. So let's look at it first and foremost, family. Here we go. Job growth in Biden's first 3 years is faster than any other four predecessors, even in Donald Trump, okay? That's what they're stating here. They have a chart. Now, Biden is a dark blue right here, and Trump is this orange color. And when Trump was in office, you see that it dropped down quite significantly, but we also have to factor in that was during COVID-19, and Biden came in at the tail end of COVID-19. So those factors we have to put in. So essentially, but according to the numbers, he has contributed, like, I believe, almost 800,000 jobs. Now, this is funny they would show a Black man, because we're going to get into where a majority of these jobs are going to. So Joe Biden touted his chest last night on State of the Union, and he was stating how he created 800,000 jobs, manufacturing jobs. And then you see a news report like this where they show one Black man, like though Black people are getting these jobs, which is false, okay? Which is absolutely false. Let's move on. So they was fact checking him on the Politico because Joe Biden said this.
Every sure everyone has a fair shot. We leave no one behind. The pandemic no longer controls our lives. The vaccines that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. Our inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. 15 million new jobs in just 3 years, a record. Black and Hispanics and Asian Americans, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs in America and counting.
So what's significant about this clip, family, I got a couple of clips for you guys, but what's significant about this particular clip is that he said Black and Hispanic, and then he said 800,000 jobs. Let me let you hear that one more time.
With historic job growth and small business growth for Black and Hispanics and Asian Americans, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs in America and counting.
So 800,000 manufacturing jobs, okay? So we went over here, we fact-checked what he said, and yeah, he said this in the tweet as well, and it basically stated that the manufacturing jobs come back under Biden is the biggest since the early 1950s. So he didn't tell a lie on that. They said that, hey, basically he was telling the truth, okay? They said he was telling the truth. All right. So the question is, where are these jobs going to? This is Department of Labor and Statistics. And we're showing the industry. We're showing the industry. Why am I showing the industry? Because he said manufacturing jobs. Did he not? Did he not say manufacturing jobs? Okay. Manufacturing jobs. Manufacturing jobs. Okay. In 2021, 71% of the workforce in the manufacturing industry sector was what? Can you guys see this, family? Can I blow this up? Can I blow this up? This is your commander-in-chief. This is Data USA for manufacturing. In 2021, 71% of the workforce in the manufacturing industry section was white. 71%. Then it goes on to state that of that, which was 27.3 were women and 72.7% men. They're saying that these manufacturing jobs are going to white men. Okay. They got to go to somebody, right? But don't show a Black man like you provided 800,000 jobs for Black folk. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And when we look at the wealth gap, should we talk about the wealth gap? Because he stated in his address, that he closed a wealth gap or something on those lines. Let me see if I can pop that up for you
Wealth
guys.
gap is as small as it's been in 20 years. Wages keep going up, inflation keeps coming down. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world and tending lower.
So he said that the racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been. Let's hear it one more time.
The racial wealth gap is as small as it's been in 20 years. Wages keep going up, inflation keeps coming down.
So he said it's been the smallest it's been in 20 years. Okay. So white Black per capita wealth ratio, 1860 to 2020. You see that it's declined. Okay, but let's get into the context of it. It's stated here that the researchers estimate what if whites and Blacks had equal opportunity for wealth accumulation over the last century and a half, the wealth gap today would be 3-to-1 ratio. We still won't be 1-to-1, we'll be 3-to-1. It goes on to state here, in previous decades, Black wage growth was faster than white. That has not been in the case for recent decades. Another critical factor has been the higher rate of price appreciation on assets owned by white relative to Blacks over the last 70 years. Basically saying that white folk has more assets. Okay. Between 1950 and 1980, there was no difference between Blacks and whites in the accruing rate of capital gains. Then it goes on to state, all of these forces affect racial disparity in wealth. Over the 1950 to 2019 period, housing and other non-financial assets accounted for 67% of the average Black portfolio, compared with just 41% for whites. Corporate stocks held directly or indirectly through mutual funds and retirement accounts and accounted for 7% of Black portfolios, compared with 18% for whites. Since 1950, stock returns have been much greater than the price appreciation of housing. investment in the stock market has increased in value 5 times as much, and investments in housing much to the advantage of white households. The research has concluded there are so few black households at the top of the wealth distribution. Faster growth in wealth at the top will lead to further increase in racial wealth gap or racial wealth inequality. That's what they're talking about. So him stating that he's lowered the quote unquote racial wealth gap is false. It's absolutely false. Let's look at it let's look at it one more time. Let's look at this very, very quickly here, family. It states here that the racial wealth gap has increased since 1970, when the median income for the black households was $30,400 compared to this $54,100. So there was only a $24,000 pay gap in between blacks and whites. Okay, this was in the 1970s. The civil rights movement from 1960 to 1980 was the fastest period of racial wealth convergence since 1900s. According to the Brookings Institute, the black-white median wealth gap has averaged $172,000 from 1989 to 2022. However, between 2019 and 2022, the gap increased, signaling an increase in disparity not seen since 2007. So the racial wealth gap has grown significantly since 2007. But he said it's been the lowest since 2020, so that's a lie. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times politicians get on these stages and lie to people because they know no one's going to really do the research, except a couple of news agencies that nobody's going to watch in the first place. That's what that's about. And then when you start comparing Biden's policy to those of Donald Trump, during his time in office, you know, Trump focused on policies that center around tax cuts and deregulation, which, you know, some may argue disproportionately benefit the wealthy. Okay. And some of them also believe in trickle down economics or Reagan economics, however you want to label it. But on the other hand, Biden supposedly has prioritized issues like criminal justice reform and expanding affordable health care to seniors and to people who may or may not have insulin. May or may not have insulin, family. Okay. And of course, all these particular topics affect Black Americans in some form or fashion, but that doesn't mean that it's going to benefit the majority of foundational Black Americans. It doesn't mean that. Because in terms of specific policies that pertain to us, some people may argue that Biden's Build Back Better plan includes provisions for addressing systematic racism in areas such as the things we mentioned, you know, criminal justice reform, healthcare, affordable housing, jobs, etc. That it may benefit us by that. Well, it benefits everyone, family. That's the whole point. See, Native Americans to this day, and this has nothing against Native Americans, I'm only using them as an example. Native Americans till this day are receiving reparations from this government for the theft and genocide of their people, the theft of their land and the genocide of their people. But there was another group of people here as well. Then other people came and joined in who did all the work that built the wealth of America. And they're owed reparations as well. I know. Biden wrongly touts record economic growth for unemployment. We just talked about this, did we not? Let me see if I come down here and find that meter. I think unemployment rate for Black Americans. Let me see if I can get this up here, family. Let me see if I can get this up here. Because a lot of people have been saying that, you know, he provided a lot of jobs in comparison to Donald Trump. And some people say that Donald Trump had provided more jobs than Joe Biden. Again, family, I'm just, you know, giving the truth. And I know a lot of people are going to have their biases. I'm not going to have my biases. I'm not going to have my biases, family. Because when we look at unemployment, and a lot of you are going to say, well, that's stemming from COVID-19, which could be absolutely true. But when we look at the unemployment rate, it's been the highest it's been probably since 1929, the Great Depression. Because I don't even see 2008 on here. We had it high. This was right after, it was the 2008, 2009. Then it dropped. America was doing very, very well. And now unemployment at this rate. Who's to blame? Was it trickle down problems from the Trump administration, or Biden didn't handle the economy in the way it should have been ran? Who's better for America? Who's better for foundational Black Americans? I'm just asking. Now, it was something occurred during the let me see if I can get this up here, family. Something occurred, or something was said rather, during the State of the Union address last night. And he had mentioned about people who built the country. I thought it was very intriguing.
People who built this country pay more into Social Security than millionaires and billionaires do.
He said the working people who built this country. Well, the funny thing about that is, Joe, I was very surprised that Joe didn't say that Black Americans, that foundational Black Americans, that U.S. freedmen built Wall Street, who built this country. Did we? He said who built the country? That was one video, right? Let me pop this other one up on your screen here. Let me see if I can find this other one for you guys, family. Give me 1 second here. I broke down the entire State Union address, and I try to label it so I don't have to do all the looking I'm doing. Give me 1 second. Okay. But it was a statement he made about those seniors who built Wall Street. He made a comment about Wall Street. There was a lot of line going on last night, family. Very cryptic, very disguised. But nonetheless, I just want to point this out. If I can't find a clip, I can't find a clip. But here you go. Let's get this straight once and for all. During the Anglo-Dutch Wars, hostilities between England and the Netherlands spilled over into North America. Right? They was over there fighting like they always do. Europeans, before Black folk came, they was warring all the time. And I'm not saying tribes in Africa wasn't warring, but they were, Viking era. They were always fighting over land and power, over the small lands that they have over there. They were fighting over it. So during the Anglo-Dutch Wars, hostilities between England and the Netherlands spilled over into North America. The Dutch settlers of Manhattan Island, called New Amsterdam at the time, feared England was planning to attack and construct a wooden wall as a defense. And it goes on to say, I'm not going to read all this, but it says, it featured cannons and span between two gates, one located at what is now the corner of Wall Street and Pearl Street, and the other on Wall Street. And the Broadway called the Wall Strat, whatever how they pronounce. The earthen part of the structure came from earlier fortification built to defend against possible attacks by Native Americans and pirates. The label on the wall is believed to have been performed by slaves. Okay. And don't get nobody in the comments or the chat talking about Irish was over here slaves. Joe Biden even said that he's from the ancestry of Irish. I've never heard him refer to Irish people as slaves. They've been indentured servants, not slave. But indentured servitude was 10 times worse than slavery. Okay. Nonetheless, December 13th, 1771. So don't forget that slaves built Wall Street. Okay, our ancestors. built Wall Street. Here's a funny thing. They built it in what, 1652, 1653? 50, 60 years later, Wall Street was made the site of governmental sanctioned slave market. That is why we owe reparations, family. People don't understand that slavery was government sanctioned. It says Wall Street was made the site of the government sanctioned slave market in New York. Okay, so that's where they was trading slaves before they was trading stock, because slaves were stock. They were human stock. Okay. Yeah. One more for you, because I know a lot of people, you have to double down, give it different sources. Oh, you only go for one source. We're talking about Wall Street again. We're talking about Wall Street. It says a gang of black men labored as long as daylight allowed, digging a 3 foot deep, and it goes on to tell you about them building Wall Street. And this is coming from Columbia University.edu. You guys want to go check this story out. It was in 1653. But he said some hardworking Americans built. He said some hardworking Americans built Wall Street last night. It was very astonishing. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, family. That's why I kind of want to cover. That's why I want to cover the State of the Union, because some of you are trying to choose who's better for foundational Black Americans. Is it Trump? Or should I stay on the Democratic train and vote for Biden? Who's going to be better for Black Americans? Because a lot of times, Black Americans, we worry about the country, right? Oh, we got to worry about the country because nobody else. We need to save the Democrats, or we don't need to save the Democrats. We need to save the Republicans. When Donald Trump was president, what happened to America? Did America not stand? Because all of a sudden, maybe Donald Trump, and I'm not making excuses for him, family. You know, I'm not Republican or Democrat, okay? I'm not making excuses for him. If he made some real cynical, communistic sort of comments, I'm not saying to ignore it. I'm just saying there's a constitution in place. I'm not saying to ignore it. I'm just saying there's a constitution in place. And I get it. Some people may think when there's rebellions and there's revolutions and people just, you know, trying to control the country by martial law, I get it. No, I get it. Then a piece of paper ain't gonna mean anything. But I'm just saying we survived 4 years of Donald Trump. And again, I'm not leaning one side or another. Okay. Now, what about healthcare? He talked about healthcare. I know a lot of people are worried about healthcare. He's talking about basically extending Obamacare, but he also talked about insulin.
Finally beat Big Pharma. Instead of paying $400 a month or thereabouts for insulin with diabetes, and it only costs $10 to make, they only get paid $35 a month now and still make a healthy profit.
So he was basically stating how insulin is going to be $10 or they're not going to be no more than $35 for insulin. And the way he made this comment on the State of the Union address, it started making me think a majority of Americans, percentage-wise, not simple numbers, families, percentage-wise, a majority of Americans or Black Americans, are they the ones who are taking insulin? Is that going to help our people majorly, right? Because a lot of times we know that neither one of these presidents are going to make a specific law or legislation in present day that's going to benefit Black Americans unless we apply pressure, unless we show that we can sit on a couch this election. Because when they understand they have a voting block, they have a voting base that we can swing the tide one way or another, they're going to start to pay attention. But if we keep tucking our tail and bowing our head and keep voting in a particular party, then they're going to continue to treat us the way they do. See, it's not only about being fair, it's about being equal. Give me what he got. You genocide and stole Native American land. you brutalized, genocide, killed, raped, maimed, tortured, chopped off parts. Then after that, you say we're free, then you destroyed our towns and our cities and flooded them and started massacres. Then after that, you had Jim Crow and black codes and Reconstruction. And we have to rewrite laws so America can be civil. Think about that. You have a constitution, you have a Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, you got all this documentation, but black folk had to fight for civil rights. Civil. We're citizens, but we had to fight for civil rights. And we still don't have it. But other people do. Other people who are non-black that come to this country do. They have civil rights. They're treated like citizens. They're treated civil. So when I look at these particular topics that he talked about, I got to dive deep, family. I have to dive deep because he stated right here, he said,
beat Big Pharma. Instead of paying $400 a month or thereabouts for insulin with diabetes, and it only costs $10 to make, they only get paid $35 a month now and still make a healthy profit.
So the first thing you're saying, well, yeah. I see a lot of fat black people. Let's just be real, family. You know, we got big black people. That's okay. And a majority of them must have diabetes, so it must help majority of black Americans. Okay. All right. I ain't arguing with you. So this is coming from diabetes.org, American Diabetes Association. Diabetes by race. Majority, it says the rate of diagnosed diabetes in adults by race and ethnic background is roughly 14% Native American and 12.1% non-Hispanic black adults. And then 11.7 Hispanic adults, and then Asians, and then non-Hispanic white adults who have diabetes. Let me come down here real quick. As of January 1st, 2024, Medicare enrollees pay no more than $35 per month for each insulin prescription. So if you're on Medicare, okay, you only pay $35 a month. What am I breaking down here, family? What am I breaking down here? I'm about to show you, because I showed you that we're second on the list for the people who are having the most diabetes, who are going to benefit from insulin the most. If you're on Medicare. Don't forget, if you're on Medicare. That's what I'm saying. You got to dive deep, family. That's why you got to put the hands like this. That's why I got my hands like this, goddammit. You see that in the background? That's why I have my hands like this. Because you got to think about this. We're going to break it down, family. Because this is how they do us. Let me see if I had the highlights right here. Here we go. It says, here are some demographics of Medicare beneficiaries. Race. In 2018, roughly 70% of Medicare beneficiaries were white. 70% of Medicare beneficiaries were white. 13.4% were Hispanic. And 10.7% were black. So when you factor in the ratio of those black folk who need insulin, and you compare and correlate that with the percent of people who are on Medicare, they don't correlate, they don't add up. That's basically saying there's a lot of black Americans that this so-called healthcare plan or healthcare prescription plan doesn't benefit. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it doesn't benefit anybody or it doesn't benefit no black people. It doesn't benefit the great majority of black people, especially if we're second on the list for having diabetes. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, family. That's all I'm breaking down to. Let's move on. Because he had a lot of things to say during the union address last night. Let me tell you. Let me tell you, family. He had made one comment. This is what he said about Wall Street. I found it. This is what he said.
Wall Street didn't build America. They're not bad guys. They didn't build it, though. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class.
This is for the future of America. This is for your children. This is for your teenagers. He just told the American people, that the middle class built Wall Street. Now, some of you are going to be like, okay, Blacklogic, you're stretching a little bit. He means Wall Street of the day. Well, tell the whole damn story. The middle class didn't build Wall Street. Slaves did.
Wall Street didn't build America. They're not bad guys. They didn't build it, though. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class. Wall Street didn't build America. They're not bad guys.
The middle class built Wall Street. The middle class built America. Wow. Wow. Dude, I don't even need to go there, family. I don't even need to go down that rabbit hole of who built the country. I don't. You guys already know. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to you guys. I'm just going to move to the next topic, okay? And here's the thing, family. I know we're slow walking. We're slow walking Joe Biden because, again, he's a liar in chief, okay, who's president right now. But we're definitely going to cover Donald Trump, and it's going to be a lot quicker than this, right? Because he's not president, and we know what he's already done. But because he's the sitting president, and he made a State of the Union address, in a State of the Union address, basically presidents tell you where we came from and where we're going, right? On all the different major topics that Americans love to hear, you know, infrastructure, jobs, healthcare, guns, housing, you know, income, education, all those things, all those major topics, right? All those major topics. But that's what he said. So let's move to education. Let's move to education. Let me see if I can find the one about education very quickly. Because I know he talked about increased school funding. He talked about increased school funding. Let me see here. Here we go.
In the strongest economy in the world, we need to have the best education system in the world. And I suspect all of you, want to give every child, a good start by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. I think I pointed out last year that children coming from broken homes where there's no books, they're not read to, not spoken to very often, start school, kindergarten or first grade, having heard 1 million fewer words spoken. Well, studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school, go on to earn a 2- and 4-year degree, no matter what their background is.
That last part, no matter what their background is, they're going to go to college if they start from preschool. Okay. 2023 college degrees are increasing among all racial and ethnic groups. However, white and Asian are more likely to have a college degree than black folk. What just came in the country unlawful? Over 30,000 Chinese folk. Who do you think going to get this Pell Grants and okay. All right. All right. Okay. Associate's degree. White students were 168% more likely to receive an associate's degree than black students. I didn't put black up there, they did. I just put race demographics for degrees in the USA. You see the search? They put black up there, not me. Graduate degrees, doctoral and professional degree recipients, 56% are white and 25.9% are students of color. They didn't even say black. They're like, oh, okay, we already said black a couple of times. Students of color. We know as Asians, but we want to say students of color. We'll say students of color. I'm just breaking down his State of the Union, family. I don't want people to get mad at me. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to get people mad at me. Because we're gonna cover Donald Trump. I'm not one-sided, family. Now, here's the one he said about HBCUs, that he increased funding for HBCUs.
Make sure the college is more affordable. Let's continue increasing the Pell Grants to working and middle-class families and increase record investments in HBCUs and minority-serving institutions, including Hispanic institutions.
Including Hispanic institutions. Okay. So, with everybody, now listen to this, family. Listen to this. Everybody has been touting their chest about Donald Trump, that he's given more to HBCUs. As a matter of fact, there was a comment up here from my Trump troll, and not all people who want to vote for Trump are trolls, but he's a Trump troll. Trump has did many amazing things to help you colored vote Trump. First of all, black folk ain't colored. We're black folk. They have a classification in South Africa called colored. They're colored folks. And last time I checked, black people turn one other color. We turn darker than what we usually are. That's it. And this has nothing against white people or anything of the nature, but white people are more colored than black folks. So don't never call us colored. Somebody hit you guys, you get a black or blue eye. That's already 3 colors. You got white, black, and blue. Sometimes you turn flush red. Sometimes you turn flush pink. So already you have more colors than black folk. We just get darker in the sun. Holler at your boy. We don't turn all them colors. But nonetheless, you heard what he said about HBCUs, and we talked about Donald Trump giving more money. So I went over to a lot of people's favorite website. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's a liberal website. That's a independent website. No, it's just a neutral website. It's neutral. However, a social media post falsely claims that President Joe Biden has cut $250 million in funding that former President Donald Trump pledged to give HBCUs. Biden just revoked the $250 million United Negro College Fund that Trump pledged to give historical black colleges for the next 10 years. In 2019, Trump did sign a bill, the Future Act, that permanently provided $255 million in annual support for HBCUs that had lapsed after Congress didn't renew the funding. Okay. What's funny about this is when you read this information here, and we're talking about who gave more to HBCUs. And I looked at HBCUs and I looked at the funding, and believe it or not, family, Joe Biden gave more money to HBCUs. Biden made no changes to the commitment. They fact checked it. Biden made no changes to the commitment, so he didn't revoke that $250 million. In fact, federal funding of HBCUs has increased every year under Biden. $2.7 billion in HBCU funding through American Rescue Plan was in addition to that annual funding increase. So some Black Americans may say, wait, look, hold on. My baby goes to HBCU. My daughter goes, my son goes. I get it. I'm being neutral, family. But you know me, I had to go a little this deeper. I said, well, according to demographics, who majority goes to HBCU? Black folk. Then 24% non-Black students. Okay. Majority Black. I mean, but this number used to be in the 90 percentile. Now it's only at 70 of people who are going to HBCUs. This is slowly becoming these, and the reason why you ask, why are white and Latino students going to a historical Black college? First of all, it's America. They can go anywhere they want. But secondly, they're using the same policies and bills that Black folk use when they go to large PWI institutions. So the white person like, well, I can't get a scholarship and I don't really have any money. I'm gonna apply for HBCU where I'm a minority. So white and Asian and Latino people are minorities at HBCUs where Black folk are Black folk are the minority when they go to a PWI. So they just now HBCUs are really being diluted as far as when it comes to a concentration of Black students. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just the facts. That's just the facts. We like facts, don't we, family? We like facts. It don't matter how we get the information. As long as the information is the truth and it's a fact, we can rock with it. We can rock with it. We can rock with it. HBCUs only represent 3% of all four-year nonprofit institutions, but enroll 10% of all Black students. So these schools are 70% Black. They're only 3% of all the four-year nonprofit schools. I won't go there. That's going too deep. It's going too deep. It's going too deep. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. We're gonna move on something else because I think they talked about criminal justice reform. I had so many clips here, family. They even talked about Roe versus Wade.
Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024. If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
All right, so we know what Roe v. Wade is about. That's about basically passing policies so women have the right of choice if they're going to abort or don't abort, their fetus, whatever you want to call it, right? Their seed. Let's just say their seed for the sake of argument. Now, we're going to take a brief break here very quickly. We're going to take a brief break, okay? Take a brief break. Uh-oh. And I'm going to address some of your comments here, okay? I'm going to address some of your comments. It says, Mac25 says, Blacklogic, let Uncle Ruckus, Ricky Man, and punk you out. I don't know what that's about. That's kind of weird. Okay, it says that white supremacy don't exist. Sell out Sambos. Okay. I now identify myself as a white man. Okay, I see we have Rosalda in the house. I see my good buddy Jermaine Anderson, Ricky Manor, my warrior brother DSB in the house. No reparations, no police reform, and no hate crime bill for FBA, then you won't get my vote. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Shalom, my brother. Nice to see you out here today. Let's talk about it. So this channel supports Trump and Ricky Manor. That's Black Klansmen. Now, here's the thing, family. This channel does not support Donald Trump. This channel does not support Joe Biden. Ricky Manor is a compadre of mine. That's it. So I don't know what you guys are getting at. I don't stem one way or another, but I won't even address that again. DSB states that both parties suck, but I saved more money with Trump in office. Okay. But he said that he's voting for the couch 2024. Donna Brown, he's giving you information. Why don't you just be quiet and listen? He never told anyone he's supporting anyone. Thank you, Donna. Thank you. I appreciate that, sister. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, I see they're trying to, hey, let's see here. Let's see here. All right. So we're gonna rock on, family. I just want to address some of your comments here. Free Radical states 60 billion to Ukraine. It's been much more than that. It's been much more than that. I see beach material in the house. Okay. Let's do that. All right. Let's move on. So there was some other things they were talking about expunging. Give me a second here. Expunging people who are in jail for marijuana use. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be on a federal level. Yeah. Expunging people for marijuana use. That's the next one. Okay. That's the next one. Expunging people who have marijuana. Let me get that one up here for you guys. Give me 1 second, family. But he was talking about expunging people's record who was still in jail for marijuana. So it made me do a quick search because he's only going to affect them on the federal level. Federal offenders sentenced for marijuana possession in the last 5 fiscal years tend to be male 85.5%, Hispanic 59.8%, and the rest 59.8% non-U.S. citizens. Who thought it was? Who raise your hand if you thought it was going to be black because your uncle smoked a little something, something. Raise your hand if you thought it was going to be black if your son be sneaking out at night smoking a little something, something. Raise your hand if you thought it was grandma and that's why you thought it was going to be black folk. Raise your hand. So basically, if he's expunging people's record for marijuana on the federal level, guess who it is? It's not black folk, because this is coming from the United States Sentencing Commission.gov. This is a federal one. They said, hey, the majority of people are Hispanic. And the 60% of them are non-citizens of America. Doesn't that make you think about illegal immigration? Is it me? Is it me? Or does it? I don't know if it's me, family, but it made me think about illegal immigration. It made me think about illegal immigration. And when we talk about justice reform, right? I don't know if I have a clip on this one, okay? I was clipping all day. But we talk about justice reform, and they brought up I don't believe they brought up the George Floyd Policing Act, okay? But he was just talking about criminal justice reform. It made my damn skin crawl. It made my skin crawl, family. Because he has done nothing. You guys remember, let me see if I have it down here. Give me 1 second, family. You guys remember the George Floyd thing, right? George Floyd and Policing Act. You guys remember that? Let me give you a better picture of it. You guys remember this right here? It passed the House, and this has been sitting since 2021. And what is significant about this? I'm gonna tell you what's significant about this very quickly. I'm just gonna read the summary. We come down here to the George Floyd and Policing Act. It states here that it limits qualified immunity. That is that civil and legal protection that police officers get when they do something unlawful, when they kill an unarmed black person. I'm not saying that all of them get off. Some have went to jail, but not nearly as much of the ones who were killing unarmed black folk. That's all I'm saying. And they use symbolism in the Democratic Party to garnish the black vote by the way of headlines like this. See, the thing about the Republicans, they don't even pay attention to black folk, really. They're just like, we're going to work on huge tax cuts for corporations. They were about, the Democrats pay attention because they know without black folk, they can't win the presidency. So they do these symbolism like these laws that you think that are really going to help black people get justice in America. No, absolutely not. They said it limits qualified immunity. You don't know what that limit is. You don't know how high or how low that limit is. As a defense to liability in a private civil action against a law enforcement officer, and grants administrative subpoena power to the Department of Justice in pattern or practice of investigations. Then the states here establish a framework to prevent and remedy racial profiling. How? They trying to give police officers sensitivity training so they can be nicer. They've been trying to do this to have them to start racial profiling. Shit, for a very long time, and it hasn't worked. It hasn't helped. Should police officers get a psych eval? That way we can somehow gauge or measure the amount of racism they may have? Because we've seen black cops. Oh, wait a minute, Blacklogic. Yeah, we've seen black cops beat up and kill black folk like they were white supremacists. And not all cops are bad. Yeah, that 10% of bad cops is making all cops look bad. Not all cops are bad. Yes, I want the police. Yes, I want the police. Somebody breaks inside my house, I want the police. Or the coroner, or the coroner, either one. Okay, something going down, there's some commotion, there's some suspicious activity in the neighborhood. Yes, I want the police. We need police. This country will be off the rails without police. Yes. But police should not have the right and the federal and state defenses when they do something wrong, simply because they wear a badge. What does protect and serve really mean? Does protect and serve mean protect these people, but kill these people? Serve these people and serve these people. Is that what it means? Is that what it means? That's all I'm asking, because I know there's a lot of pro-blue when it comes to police officer. And yes, it's not that I'm anti-police or pro-police. I'm pro-good policing, that they don't racially profile. They don't indiscriminately kill more black people who are unarmed than other people. That's all. It says here, it also limits the unnecessary use of force and restricts the use of no-knock warrants, chokeholds, and card holds. I don't. How does that help black folks? But see, what you guys may not know, family, is that they have an ending Qualified Immunity Act that's been sitting since 2021. It's only been introduced by the House by Ayanna Pressley. And let's break this one down. Protects government employees. This is what qualified immunity does. Protect government employees or those acting with the state authority, police officers, from being held personally liable for constitutional violation. They can violate your constitutional right, given qualified immunity. Did you guys know that? That's why you're like, man, you violate my constitutional right. They don't care. They're protected by qualified immunity. So even the George Floyd bill, limits qualified immunity, where this one, it should not be a defense or immunity to such an action, meaning you're not going to have qualified immunity. And wait, what did Trump say about police officers and qualified immunity? He's going to strengthen qualified immunity. I don't care about the funding, family. Let's not get wrapped up with the whole liberal defund the police. Hell nah. They shouldn't have tanks. Okay, they shouldn't have tanks. This is not road warrior. You shouldn't have tanks. But there should be a level of automatic weapons, because some of the criminals have them. And you know what? Maybe they need tanks now, because with illegal immigration, you got cartels in America. They in the last 3 months, they have 1 million undocumented migrants inside of America in 3 months. That's not including all the ones before that you saw 30,000 at the border, 20,000 at the border. No, in the last 3 months, 1 million undocumented migrants came into America. And they was already talking about stories of the Sinaloa cartel transporting drugs up to Montana and controlling certain neighborhoods. Yeah, maybe they need tanks. I don't know. I'm just saying that we need a system. I don't know how we're going to do it. The only thing that we can do here, family, have legislation like this to be passed. They have legislation like this to be passed because it wipes away their very protection. That means that now when they do something wrong, Black folk can actually receive justice. So for those who I know a lot of like, oh, wait a minute, this is a conservative. No. This is just the truth, family. See, Black empowerment doesn't take a side. Black empowerment does not take the side of a Democrat, does not take a side of a Republican. You just give the truth and the benefit of said legislation for your people. That's what Black empowerment teaches us, not to pick a side. Not to pick a side. That's all I'm saying. That's all. Donna Brown, you guys are crazy, man. But I want to show you guys something very quickly as I'm ending here. President Biden immigration plan legalized millions of undocumented workers. I want you guys to keep that inside your head. Because listen to this.
He began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so?
You don't like that?
Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's amazing. That bipartisan bill would hire 1,500 more security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges to help tackle the backload of 2 million cases, 4,300 more asylum officers, and new policies so they can resolve cases in 6 months instead of 6 years now. 100 more high-tech drug detection machines to significantly increase the ability to screen and stop vehicles smuggling fentanyl into America. That's killing thousands of children. This bill would save lives and bring order to the border. It will also give me and any new president new emergency authority to temporarily shut down the border when the number of migrants at the border is overwhelming.
Give them the emergency administration authorization to shut down the border. Now, the first thing I'm laughing at is in that border security bill, it had all sorts of other funding from other places. Like they wanted to send money to Israel. They wanted to send money to Ukraine. So the Republicans like, nah, you ain't gonna just be sending American tax dollars over to these other countries and just so we can secure our border. So they blew up the deal. I don't know. Listen, family, I don't know what side to take on that one. I don't know whose side to take on that one because at the end of the day, the border is still wide open. But then for Joe Biden to come back and say, well, if you sign this emergency blah, blah, blah bill, then we can secure the border. You're the same one who blew up the border. You're the same one who had open border policies. President Biden's immigration plan legalized millions of undocumented workers. You're legalizing undocumented workers, legalizing. Let's move on. House passes legislation preventing Biden administration from housing migrants in national parks. They try to house migrants in national parks. You're going to go to Yellowstone National Park or whatever, and you're going to see migrants camped out in a national park. They had to prevent them from doing that. Let's move on. House approves, hold on. House approves resolution announcing Biden's open border policies. This is what everybody was stating. That he had open border policies, fam. Some of the immigration laws, and you go through the border dreamers as well of allowing people in the country. So here's the part that we're going to move to very quickly. Trump policies for Black Americans. Okay. They got him in the middle. They got his hands on him. Saving grace. How? No, we're not doing it. So let's go down here. I got some things highlighted, family. I want to point this out right here. The morning after Philadelphia police fatally shot a Black man, 27-year-old Walter Wallace, Trump praises officers as the most incredible people on earth. And at the same time, he was giving Elise Johnson a full pardon in the Oval Office. Again, family, I don't want to choose for you. Here we go. Trump advisors thought the president's support for the First Step Act would help him win re-election down the road. But Adriana Scrofire, executive director of Black PAC, cautioned that Black Americans are not single-issue voters. That's what they believe. We're single-issue voters. Yeah, I'm a single-issue voter. Anybody want to know? Reparations. I'm a single-issue voter. I'm being very monolithic. Reparations. Holler at your boy. And I know some people gonna put it on, man, you ain't get no damn reparations. Nigga, you ain't get no damn reparations. People be hating that our people are so great. People hate that we have such a rich history. And when you know your history, and when people tell you that Black folk haven't contributed to America, and you point out all the innovations, all the engineering, all the things that we created and the things that we're still doing to this day, it's mind-blowing. Under the Trump administration, the Black unemployment rate steadily improved. Under the Trump administration, the Black unemployment state steadily improved, dropping to 5.4% at the bottom in 2019 compared to 7.5% when Trump took office in 2017. But that achievement is attributed to economic growth that was already revving when Trump took office. So they're not trying to give Trump any credit of the Black employment rate dropping while he was in office, because they say it was already decreasing before he came into office. Under the Trump administration, she said, Black workers did not see employment levels ever go above the trend. Okay. Even with record low unemployment rates in 2019, Black Americans still had fewer jobs than their white counterparts, even for those with college or advanced degrees. You be the judge. Who's better, Trump or Biden? HBCU funding, here we go. The bill is a 10-year renewal of funding. During Obama's 8 years in office, mandatory HBCU funding ranged from almost $80 million to $85 million per year. The same has been true during Trump's administration. So Trump gave as much as Obama did to HBCUs. And according to the facts, Joe Biden gave more to HBCUs during his time in office than Donald Trump. He just basically was doing what Obama did at $255 billion. Was it million or billion? Million or billion? Let's just say billion. I don't know. But Joe Biden gave over $2.7 trillion. The amount of funding for HBCUs is the same thing that we had under President Obama. Hate the message, not the messenger. Hate the message, not the messenger. I get a lot of comments. Opportunity zones. Mike Pence credited the president for creating more than 8,000 opportunity zones, bringing jobs and opportunity to our inner city families. A feature of the president's $1.5 trillion tax cut, the program was intended to benefit Black, Hispanic, and low-income communities, but there's very little data about what's actually happening in those opportunity zones. There isn't a full accounting of the number of opportunity zone projects, let alone basic information such as those projects and why they're bringing pursuit and who's benefiting from them. It makes me think about that this really didn't do nothing for black folk, but also make me think about the 800,000 jobs that Joe Biden created and said black folk. But when we looked at the numbers, majority of the people who got those jobs were white men. That was astonishing to me. Housing. The United States Department of Housing and Urban Development replaced the 2015 Affirmative Furthering Fair Housing Act with a much weaker rule in July. While Trump was in office? A much weaker rule using a waiver to exempt the new regulation from public comment requirements. Public comments allow people to weigh in on proposed rules before they're finalized, but the bypassing that critical step, the agency essentially expedited a month-long process without any public input. I'm just saying, family. I'm just saying, who do you trust? It goes on. He's using absolutely baseless fear of crime and decreased property value as attempted triggers to get a white anxiety about living with people of color and Black Americans in particular. And the idea of integration itself said, someone saying he's racist. And then somebody going to say, wait a minute, Silverstein, is that person of Jewish nature? Then that's why they're saying that. I don't know, family. I don't know. I'm just asking. Not only is he being basically explicit racist here, he's also just operating a fact-free environment immune to any sort of empirical evidence about housing policy. So they said the housing thing was fraudulent that he's doing. I'm not making this up, family. I'm not making this up. Hate the message, not the messenger. So a lot of people, especially when it comes to foundational Black Americans, we have a lot of people who are going to be on the couch, Netflix and chill, watching the game on the couch. Then you're going to have some that's going to like, you know what? I'm just going to vote for Trump. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to do something different here. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do something different. Because even that First Step Act they were talking about, they don't do nothing for us. And we're not one issue voters. But a lot of people are going to go with Trump. I get it. I understand. Understand now, some of you, okay, some of you may go to church. Some of you just may go to church. And I'm going to plead with you guys. Please don't go. That's the church. That's the church. And family, I told you on the Wednesday broadcast, I had a lot of clips for you guys. And I want to tell every tether and anchor out there, this is what foundational Black Americans are talking about, how immigrants come over here and get placed in front of Black Americans. And then they turn around and tell us, pull ourselves up our bootstrap. We're not getting no support. The lies, I tell you, the lies.
Shirley Chisholm, right? Her family was given housing priority over African-American families. And she wrote about that in her book to share to people that, like, during that time, America was intentionally bringing Caribbean families here and giving them more generational wealth and taking that away from African-Americans that were already here.
So I went to college too, and I have this Trinidadian professor. But what she said was like, back in like the 60s, 70s, they wanted a more docile N-word. They was doing too much.
Yeah.
So they brought over the more docile, well-behaved, hardworking Black people from the Caribbean, and they gave them opportunities to land and housing, and especially in New York.
Shirley Chisholm, right?
So that was that clip about family that happened yesterday. But what I realized is that, unfortunately, illegal immigrants are getting everything that Black Americans never received. And it's coming by the way of the Democratic Party. So I totally understand if people are going to vote for Trump. But because there's no policies on the table that is going to specifically target Black Americans, and it says Black Americans, cash payment reparations, wiping away qualified immunity, instilling a system of justice and replacing the system of injustice. We can talk about healthcare. We can talk about justice reform, prison reform. We can talk about healthcare. We can talk about all these other things. But if you notice, family, when they try to speak to you through these issues and none of these particular policies or legislation that they're proposing, none of them are targeting or specifically for Black folk, we believe we're doing ourselves a great justice because we believe that we're going to receive some of these benefits and resources that we never do. We never receive any of these benefits or resources. Even to this day, we have other people who are in the country 2 days, and in 2 days, they got more from this country than you have in a lifetime.
The boat owners carry back with them not only their relatives, but the dregs of his jails. Of that 125,000 refugees that landed in Florida, an estimated 25,000 have criminal records. Oh. That's what's up. That's what is happening.
Gangsta grandma, gangsta grandma.
All this asylum seeking lie, all this about refugees. No. What's happening is they're emptying out the dregs of their jails into the United States, into our communities. They're junking up our country. And yeah, we feel some kind of way about it because it's our country. It's our country. People like Fast Square, look how disrespectful they are. Now you just gave that man a resolution for his father's restaurant. And every time we get up and talk, he's working this move. Look at it. Look at him. But he wants his resolution for his father to be respected. Fast players, low payers, all them want their people to be respected, but they can't even give us the dignity for what we do. But them, ain't no question about it. Yeah, Black History Month, the American descendants of slavery. And I want you to know, Brandon Johnson, I understand what Drake was saying about we still on the plantation, but what you're looking at right now, this is what free Negro look like. And I'm telling you, we're going to get our city back, we're going to stand for our people, we're going to get them out of our communities because they don't deserve to be there. Anytime they can't give us 3,000 minutes of their attention while we sit here and watch y'all give them all kind of money, you watch us. We Black out here. All right. We're going to handle our business. You watch that. Free Black woman. All right. That's how we get down.
Whoa. Let me tell you something, family. That's powerful. I don't think she's a Democrat anymore. I'm not saying she's Republican. She might be on the couch with me, family. She might be on the couch. I thank you all for joining me here this evening on Blacklogic. I know a lot of you may agree or may disagree, but again, this was very unbiased and very neutral. I told you where I stand as the couch, but I believe that a lot of Black people who are dropping out and leaving the Democratic plantation, they're going to be on the couch or they're going to vote for Trump for their own particular reasons. But for me, family, it's definitely the couch. Be one.